Roses are red, walnuts are 10. Yoshiyama smashed an AI.
Water can destroy, Pulseman!
In the distant future of 1999, the world is interconnected via a network between 8 ultracomputers. These machines are all linked to a single device called Saint Ain, considered the final computer. This world is inhabited by virtual creatures called A-Lives and C-Lives, which coexist with humanity. The ultracomputer Amabilis was where the brilliant scientist Suzuhei Yoshiyama created a C-Life woman, whom he ended up falling in love with. He then proceeded to convert his physical body into code, allowing him to enter the computer world so he could stay next to his lover. And after fulfilling every tech bro's dream, in 2001, the fusion between Mega Man, Sonic, and a Rotom was born. They named him Pulseman. But what nobody knew was that 2 years prior to this, the evil genius, Dr. Waruyama, left the computer world, beginning his quest on galactic domination. And in the even more distant future of 2015, the Galaxy Gang, led by Waruyama himself, starts a series of attacks around the world. Using his evil invention, the Eureka, he's able to materialize other C-Lives into the real world, spreading chaos and destruction. With the fate of the world, or galaxy I guess, in danger, Pulseman jumps into action to put a stop on Waruyama and his team. What's up everyone? I'm Hapnix. I've been interested in this game for some time already. I've played it sometimes in the past but never really looked that deep into it. I always thought the character designs were pretty cool though. Pulseman was one of the few games made by Game Freak before the creation of Pokemon. In fact, a lot of the people involved in this production went on to create the first-gen games and other Pokemon titles. From the team responsible for Pulseman, some of the names you may recognize are Ken Sugimori, designer and artist for a lot of different Pokemon and trainers. Pulseman was actually his second time ever as a game director, the first one being Magical Tururuto. He was also the character designer of this game. Junichi Masuda. He did a bunch of stuff like directing, programming, and composing for a lot of different Pokemon games. He's even done some battle themes for some of the more recent titles. For Pulseman, he was also a programmer and composer. That's why some music in this game may remind you of Pokemon a bit. Oh, and I almost forgot about Satoshi Tajiri. He was also artist and director here. Oh yeah, by the way, he was the guy who created Pokemon. Anyway, the game came out in 1994 in Japan for Sega Mega Drive, and just 1 year later in the US. But there, it was a Sega channel exclusive. This was a service that allowed you to download games into your Mega Drive, or Genesis in that case. This was done via cable TV, but it was the middle of the 90s, so I can't really say how well it worked. By the way, even having this release in the US, I don't think there is an English version of the game anywhere, so I had to use a translation patch. Hope you don't mind. Okay, back to the game. Our first stop is Tokyo, where Galaxy Gang members have hijacked RWT Network's TV station. Pulseman didn't come alone though. Inside his watch is Beatrice, his girlfriend. She used to be part of the Galaxy Gang in the past, even being sent to destroy Pulseman one time, alongside a certain someone. But that day, she had a change of heart, and ended up saving Pulseman's life, betraying Waruyama's trust, who disconnected her from Eureka, making her no longer able to materialize again. All these events are shown in the Pulseman manga by the way. She now helps our hero in his missions, localizing GG activity and saying stuff like,
"Be careful!"
and
"Great job!"
Speaking about our hero, when in his normal state, Pulseman has some basic moves, like punching and kicking. But after running or doing a dash, he enters the sparking state, where his body becomes charged with electricity, allowing him to do some special attacks, like the Slash Arrow and the Volt Tackle. Oh, my bad, the
Volt Ticker!
But regardless of being or not in the sparking state, his most powerful attack is for sure the
Yeah!
You'll see why later. After defeating some enemies in the city, we find a monitor. You see, by being half human and half sea life, Pulseman is able to freely alternate between the physical world and the CG space, which is the network connecting the ultracomputers. So, basically the internet.
Jack in!
Pulseman.
Execute!
Crossing the CG space, we arrive right in front of the studio. The whole crew is knocked out, and there are cameras floating all over the place. And the culprit is this guy with a gaming VR set. We then get inside the computer to fight his bootleg master hand to this banger of a song. Our next destination is India. Waruyama is trying to mechanize the rainforest and has already managed to turn some trees into machines. We get there through the CG space, where we find these froggers. There's nothing special about them, I just think they're neat. Here's where the game introduces these electrical wires that serve as a transportation method. Here is also where we get our first
Voltec power.
This gives Pulseman an unlimited static state. It only lasts until the end of this section though. After some trippy scenarios, Pulseman gets to the forest in the real world. We then have to battle a mechanized tree to save said forest. After this, Beatrice finds out Waruyama is in Vegas. He's planning to rob a casino, so he must stop him. Pulseman chases his tank through a desert, but even damaging it, he manages to get away. Disclaimer: the next parts of this level have a lot of bright colors flashing quickly. My eyes even hurt a bit when I play them. I think this happens a few more times further in the game, so I'll try to tone down the screen when we get to parts like this. Pulseman gets through this capitalistic nightmare. He even breaks some parts of the establishment along the way, just to find Waruyama waiting for us outside. This is where you find out why is Pulseman's strongest attack. He becomes completely invulnerable when using it, and you can just spam it as much as you want, so it's really easy to just... But unfortunately, Waruyama escapes again. After we complete the first 3 missions, Beatrice detects Galaxy Gang activity in other places, so we still have work to do. She tells us ancient ruins have suddenly surfaced in the Indian Ocean, so we're going to Thailand. There, we sadly discover that
Water can destroy Pulseman!
That's right, every time Pulseman is in contact with water, he becomes completely unable of using any of his electric powers. That means no Voltecker. And if he's hit by water while traveling through the wires, he'll just fall. So be careful. Inside the temple, we find Green Devil's children. They don't deal damage, but also don't let us use our electric abilities, so they're kinda annoying. We dive deeper and find what looks like a factory of some kind, and a monitor. Those are weird things to fight inside ancient ruins, but okay. Anyway, we go to the CG space once again and... What did you call me? This part with the spheres can take some time if you don't know what you're doing. Just like me, but after some time I was able to leave and... Bro, stop calling me that! I'm gonna find you. Oh, so it was you.
Yeah!
After defeating the Spanish-speaking robot, Beatrice finds the location of one of the Galaxy Gang's bases, and it's in Alaska. Right when we get there, we're already welcomed to more froggers, another banger, and Yoko blocks. Climbing to the top of the screen, we find another monitor. You already know what this means. So, CG space, here we go. And then I got killed by a penguin. After some time, we get to a puzzle. This room with Waruyama's ugly mug placed everywhere. There's a lot of different exits here, each one leading to a different level. It's really easy to get lost in here, so I'll tell you the correct order. We take the only exit on level 1, then the upper exit on level 5, upper again on level 6, upper left on level 8, we then take the path with Yoko blocks on level 9, which leads us to level 10. Getting out of there, I got killed by another penguin. But then... we bump into someone special. Vale. Not this one. He's Waruyama's best creation, and is also considered his son. He and Pulseman have already battled each other in the past. In the same day Beatrice left the Galaxy Gang, he said the only reason he lost was because of her betrayal, but now she can't really interfere anymore, so it's just the two of them.
I found you, faker! Faker? I think you're the fake around here.
The only way to deal damage on him is by colliding with his Dark Voltecker, and then attacking while he's falling. You can force him to use that move by throwing a slash arrow at him. He will absorb the energy and get into sparking state, and then he will attack right away. When we defeat Vale, he simply vanishes, and we never see him again. That's kinda sad, I liked him. We now go to Australia. The Galaxy Gang is trying to build a submarine in a secret factory. The bad news is, this factory is located underwater. So yeah, this is gonna be fun. The first part isn't that bad. The problem is the second one. Here Pulseman is completely submerged, so besides his lack of electric abilities, he becomes a lot slower and heavier. We need to get to the bottom of the screen to go to the next part, but there are spike balls everywhere, and Pulseman is a lot harder to control now, so I was falling on spikes, and even on top of enemies sometimes. This took me 2 game overs, but I was able to get to the end somehow. After the previous part, the rest of the level is actually a breeze. But now to the CG space, where we get another seizure-inducing section. Now in the other side, Waruyama starts launching missiles at us, and there is only one way to safely get through them. But sadly, we are too late. The super strong submarine has already been built. Just by the name alone, you know how powerful it is. This is probably gonna be one of the hardest fights in the game. After so many missions around the world, Beatrice is finally able to locate where the Galaxy Gang was hiding all this time. and it was in Japan. Their secret base is inside an arcade. And that's very smart actually. I think an arcade isn't the place where someone would be trying to find an evil organization. I mean, unless their logo is plastered all over the place. Entering the establishment, Pulseman spots Waruyama, who enters the machine trying to escape, but we follow him soon after. I really like how the graphics become different here, but what I don't like is the abundance of bottomless pits in this area. And on top of that, there are meteors and UFOs that can hit you flying everywhere. This combined with my lack of gaming skills gave me a really hard time here. And by the time I was able to complete this section, I was already at my last continue. The next parts aren't that bad though. I still died a lot here, but the game gives you a life halfway through, so you can just try as much as you want. We then battle a weird spaceship with the shape of Waruyama's head. My man is really egocentric, huh? And Pulseman dives deeper inside the machine. We are now getting closer to the big boss, and I think the map just stopped rendering at some point here. But before we can fight Waruyama, we need to destroy his weird homunculi first. But now, we are finally here. The moment we've been waiting all this time. Our hero Pulseman versus the evil genius Waruyama. The ultimate battle between good and evil. The fight to put an end into Galaxy Gang's schemes and to decide the fate of Earth. Okay, let me just... The fight causes the base to explode, and it was unclear if our hero survived. Until...
Here I am.
I had such a nice time playing Pulseman. It's a fairly simple game, and even though it took me around 2 hours to complete it, it didn't seem that long to me. The main character's moveset is pretty cool and really fun to play with, and I always have a nice sense of freedom when using the Volt Hacker. The character designs are gorgeous, and the world is very interesting. It would be awesome to see this franchise evolve, and to watch Pulseman go into new adventures. Also, a lot of things were left unsolved, like who the hell is Waruyama? They never really explain who he is. In the English Wassup description of the game, it said Waruyama is Pulseman's dad after being corrupted, when he tried to come back to the real world. They clearly have a connection, since Waru means evil, but here is the only place where they use this explanation, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, since Waruyama was born in 1999, but Pulseman was born in 2001. But I don't know, maybe his life took a little longer to give birth. But sadly, we will never know the answer. The game didn't have as much success as it deserved, and I think the way it was released in the US didn't help that much. Maybe if it wasn't for that, the game could have been more popular in the West. There is also the fact that only 2 years later, in 1996 in Japan, Pokemon Red and Green would be released, and by the massive success this franchise has, it would just make sense for them to focus on it. But Pulseman is not and will never be the last known Pokemon project Game Freak has done. They occasionally drop other titles from time to time, but just like Pulseman, they usually don't get sequels. One that gets my attention among them is Drilldozer. I have never finished this one. Maybe I'll talk about this game in the future. Also, they haven't totally forgotten about our favorite Sea Life Human hybrid. There's a bunch of references to Pulseman in Pokemon games, like the move Volt Tackle, Rotom's whole design and abilities, the fact Boltun's Japanese name is literally Pulsewan, and Iron Jugulus's backstory. So I think they still have some appreciation for this character. But I think this is all I had to say for today. See you soon guys, stay positive.